Is it ethical to experiment humans? Should humans be used for experiments? Later, we'll dive into perspectives. Just watch till the end. Hi, this is Maria Isabel Cañada. Today, I'll be presenting the moral issue of human experimentation. Human experimentation raises ethical concerns about autonomy, consent, and harm, making it critical issue in bioethics. Testing on humans, while essential for medical progress, has a history of abuse such as the Nazi experiments, leading to Nuremberg Code. So Nuremberg Code is created after the World War II, responds to Nazi medical experiments, establishes 10 principles to ensure ethical research, emphasizing voluntary consent. Subjects must be informed of the risks, benefits, and alternatives before participation. Experiments must be avoid unnecessary suffering and prioritize patient safety. Let's move on into the ethical schools of thoughts.
Utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is the ethical theory that an action is morally right if it leads to the greatest good for the greatest number of people. In the context of human experimentation, it might justify testing on a few individuals if the results could benefit millions by advancing medical science. This approach focuses on the outcome even if it involves risk to a smaller group. Next is the pragmatism. Pragmatism evaluates morality based on what works best in real-life situations. It is a flexible approach that considers context, results, and effectiveness. In relation to human experimentation, pragmatism would support research if it brings practical benefits and is handled responsibly, considering informed consent, safety, and real-world needs. Situation ethics. Situation ethics believes that the rightness or wrongness of an action depends on the context and most likely outcome. Applied to human experimentation, it would allow research only if it is done with genuine concern for the well-being of participants and aims to help others, emphasizing compassion, consent, and respect. Lastly is the relativism. Relativism holds that moral judgments depends on cultural, societal, or individual perspectives, with no universal right or wrong. When it comes to human experimentation, a relativist might argue that what is considered ethical can vary from one society to another, meaning that practices may be acceptable in some contexts but not in others.
To wrap up, human experimentation demands that we protect participants' rights while advancing science with dignity. Ethical views like utilitarianism, relativism, pragmatism, and situation ethics remind us that while science moves us forward, ethics must guide the way. To dive deeper into this topic, let's hear from Eliasa and Colorina to continue the presentation. Thank you for watching and listening.
So now I'm going to discuss the applicability and validity of the moral issue of human experimentation to each of ethical principles. So first we have utilitarianism. So the principle is promotes the greatest good for the greatest number. So view on human experimentation supports experimentation when the sacrifice of a few benefits many. Informed consent considered unnecessary if the social benefits outweigh individual rights. Subject selection suggests using less valuable members of society, such as the mentally retarded, habitual criminals, or the terminally ill. Experiment design should minimize suffering and avoid trivial or wasteful research. Next, we have Kantian ethics. So, the principle, humans are autonomous rational beings who must be treated as ends, not means. Informed consent, mandatory. Only rational and autonomous individuals can volunteer, understanding the risks and benefits involved. So the moral limits, participation should be voluntary and should not involve high risk of death. Deception is always immoral. View on coercion, no one should be forced into research or treatment for their own good or for others' benefits. Next, we have natural law ethics. So the principle, double effect and totality. So informed consent must be freely given without coercion or deception. Participation allowed if no direct personal benefit is expected, but not if the subject is healthy and the research involves serious risk. Fetal research, morally prohibited if it exploits the fetus or reduces its chance of life. Permitted if therapeutic or non-threatening to the fetus. Next, we have Ross ethics. So the principle, ethical duties such as honesty and minimizing harm. So informed consent, essential with prohibition against deception. Research design must minimize suffering, injury, and death. So the moral basis, actions must be based on what is right, not just what is useful. Next, we have Rawls' theory of justice. So principle, protection of individual liberty and fairness. Informed consent, a strict requirement for all participants. Prohibited practices, deceptive research, and exploitation of disadvantaged groups. For example, the sick, poor, prisoners, or mentally disabled, without direct benefit to them. So next, we have moral pragmatism. So the principle, practicality, and usefulness of outcomes. So the view in human experimentation is acceptable if it promises significant benefits for humanity. So the decision criteria should assess if the research is beneficial, useful, and practical for both participants and society. So last, we have situation ethics. So the principle emphasizes love, care, and personal responsibility. The informed consent, vital, ensuring volunteers are fully informed about risk and benefits. So the researcher's duty must demonstrate fairness, truthfulness, and loving concern toward participants. Freedom and responsibility, prospective subjects should be consulted and empowered to make informed decisions. To sum up, despite differing philosophical foundations, most theories converge on the importance of informed consent, minimization of harm, and respect for individual autonomy. Utilitarianism justifies experimentation if it maximizes overall good, even at the cost of individual rights. Kantian ethics, natural law, Rawls ethics, and Rawls' theory of justice uphold the inviolability of individual dignity, strictly requiring voluntary, informed participation and rejecting exploitation or coercion. So, for the moral pragmatism and situation ethics, it emphasized the practical and compassionate aspects of research, insisting on benefits for both society and participants with personal responsibility and empathy as central values. So the overarching ethical consensus stresses that while scientific advancement is valuable, it must never override fundamental human rights, especially the right to informed, voluntary participation free from deception or undue risk. So that would be all. Thank you.